Welcome back, Bubble Butts. Today we're going to be making some Lesbian Pride soap, and I'm going to let you in on the things that I learned while making this one. Not just soap related, but LGBTQ plus related, particularly the L part. In the beginning here, I'm just kind of dividing out my lye. I hadn't done that yet, but you'll notice I already have my colors set out here. And the one in the middle that you see is yellow is going to be white, but because I have water dispersible titanium dioxide, that is actually going to go into my lye solution. So part of what makes these layered soaps so difficult when you're trying to get straight lines is you've got to measure out your lye and your oils and everything really exact in very small amounts. The smaller your batch size gets, the harder it is to make it precise. More accurately to say that you have to be more precise because you have less wiggle room. So I'm measuring and remeasuring. I measure first in ounces, then I go to grams, and then I double check everything that I do. But the next thing that you're going to see me do here is go ahead and put that titanium dioxide in my batch for my white layer. And that's because that disperses in water and does better than if I just dumped it into that oil. So since there's nothing but that white going into this, I am going to go ahead and put it in the lye solution as opposed to putting it into the oil. My other colors, I have just dispersed them in the oil along with the fragrance. So that is my base oil mixture combined with the colorant and the fragrance. And I'm putting about a tablespoon of this solution in here because I put in about a teaspoon of titanium dioxide for every tablespoon of water that I have in there. And I usually just keep enough on hand to do, a few batches so that I don't have a problem with it going bad or anything like that. And so that one's all ready to go. When I mix that layer, it'll be perfectly white and I don't have to worry about it. So let's chitty chat about the other colors that I have going on here. That one that I am stirring right there in the bottom left of the screen is actually a combination of Voodoo, maybe it was Flirt. Oh no. Carrie, hopefully you show that on screen. But I mixed Sexy Stranger on a Train, just a little tiny bit of that into that batch to give me that deep, deep burgundy kind of purple. So if you're looking for a nice wine color, that's a good way to get that. And you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, it is Flirt, and I think I did Voodoo on my second batch, which is why it doesn't turn out the right color. Yeah, and I mixed it with a tiny bit of Sexy Stranger on a Train just to darken it up. So I'm talking about I used a teaspoon, and then my orange is Koi. One is diluted with titanium dioxide, the other isn't. So for that bottom layer, to get that deep purple, that beautiful wine color that you see, for these layers I did about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon, really depends on the boldness that you want of each of the colors. And then for the darkest layer, I added in about less than a quarter of a teaspoon, probably close to an eighth of a teaspoon of Sexy Stranger on a Train, just to darken it up a little bit. And look at how gorgeous that came out. I mean, it's just absolutely freaking stunning. So I couldn't be more proud of this soap, the way this one turns out. So just like with my other layered soaps, the way that I do this is I do each individual layer, which is why I have it divided out ahead of time. I'm going to put the lye solution into this color. I'm going to stick blend it in just a little bit and then go ahead and pour that layer. Easy peasy. I wait for it to set up and I do the next one. So let me tell you a little bit about what I learned about the lesbian pride flag. So I actually didn't recognize this particular color combination as the lesbian pride flag because the one that I learned was a little bit different. Let me throw a picture in here for you. So this is actually the lesbian flag that I was familiar with, and it was derived from the lipstick lesbian flag. But that's not the one that's being widely used. The one that's widely being used now has some orange tones, and there are two versions of it. The first has more stripes than the second one. This one, of course, is the original. And then this is the variant that I used simply because the color variations are so similar and it was a little easier to do for a layered soap. But so that is the flag that I'm going with. And that one was put into use in about 2018. So it's actually pretty brand new. A lot of the queer pride flags that aren't the rainbow one are fairly new. I think one of the older ones is the transgender one, which I will be covering in a later video. This is probably my favorite color in this entire soap. It just turned out so pretty. I'm really, really happy with how this came out. The colors are so bright and bold, and I just love it. I also used a peach scent for this one. I thought it really fit the colors very, very well. it kind of had an unintended innuendo to it that I didn't mean, but I don't know. I kind of like it. It's a little tongue in cheek, so why not? I also realized I wanted a little more titanium dioxide in here for that. And yeah, so this bottom layer has been stick blended. I let it rest for a minute just to make sure that I didn't get a false trace, that my batter's not separating, and then I can go ahead and pour that first layer. So here comes my mold and that frame that I love so much. It's so raggedy looking, but it works so well. The first layer is always the easiest because you just dump that guy right in there. Look at how pretty that is, though. I love it. Someone commented on my rainbow soap video too that they liked that all my spatulas matched, and this one I had more that would match, so that was good because I have pink and I have red and I have orange, and but I don't have a white and I don't have a yellow, and it makes me really sad. So if anybody knows where I can get a really cute solid yellow or solid white spatula, like a little one though, these are little guys, I would much appreciate it. It would be great. But yeah, there's that first one. So I'm going to have to let this rest for a little bit, and then we'll move on to the second color. And now it's time for layer 2. This is just Flirt all by itself. I love the way this has kind of an iridescent look to it when it's just in the oil, but that actually comes out a nice solid color. This would be really cool if you were doing a kind of like a resin pour, if you were doing like a nail polish. I think this one is skin safe, or like even a clear like melt and pour soap. It would just come out really cool because it's got that nice iridescent purple sheen to it. It's really pretty. So we're just going to go ahead and mix that lye solution in, get this going, and then very carefully lay it on top of that darker layer. This and the rainbow one that I did probably came out with the most perfect straight lines. The irony, y'all, the irony that my gayest soaps came out with the straightest lines. Like, so many times I kept telling myself, it doesn't matter if it's straight. It's not meant to be straight, but I want it straight. Like, there's a metaphor in there that I can't quite put my finger on. But there was some lucky gal out there got herself a Lesbian Pride soap that had like a little bit of a slope on one end, which I left. I was going to trim it off, but I left it because it was such a nice crooked like top to the soap, and I just thought, nope, that's perfection. That's a chef's kiss moment. Like, it's the non-straight Lesbian Pride soap. I don't know if you got it and you're disappointed by it, let me know. But I thought it was amusing. So that is our lighter pink from the flag. And we're going to use our spatula so that we don't get that soap batter breaking through that layer. Because while that layer looks pretty firm, it's kind of like a pudding consistency, but it has like a skin on top, which sounds so gross. God, this is such a gross comparison. But it kind of has like a skin forming on top because it's starting to set up. And so as it starts to set up, it's just like anything else. It's going to set up from the outside in. And so that top layer is a lot firmer. But if I break through that top layer, you get like dips down into the soap. So I'm going to use my spatula to keep that from falling in a really straight, pointy line that could possibly break through. And it's just going to slide right over that. Isn't that pretty? And just cover that layer completely. And I've got to watch for making sure that the mold is sitting flat and all that kind of stuff again to make it straight. Oh, the irony, the irony. I love a good moment of irony, though. I love puns, I love irony, I love innuendo. They're all good in my book. So then that layer has to set up, and then we get to do the white one, which is fun because that kind of is a little different when you see it. But you can see how yellow my oils are. If I don't put that titanium dioxide, that white color, or any color in my soap, it does not come out yellow, but it does come out kind of like the color of butter. It comes out like in a very pale yellow, like a cream color. And so that's one of the reasons a lot of soap makers add colorants, or, if we want white, we have to add white to it. Titanium dioxide's often the stuff that's in toothpaste to make it a little lighter. I noticed there was some in a flavor additive I was putting in my water yesterday. It has and I'm like, hey, I know what that is. So if you ever see that on your on a product, it's all it is. It just makes things white. And it is a naturally occurring mineral, although it's probably lab produced. So this one's kind of fun because, again, I'm just taking those plain oils and putting white lye solution in them. But you can see how that layer has set up. There was a little cut while I was talking in there. And this will just go right on top of it. I grabbed a gray spoon to combat the fact that I don't have a white spatula. Shush, I don't have a problem. I've also recently discovered that I probably need to be evaluated for adult ADHD, and I think I've had it as a child. And there are some quirky little things that I do that would lend one to believe that that is a possibility. And no biggie. We're just gonna pretend like everything's fine. But look at how quick that goes white. Isn't that beautiful? And that's just gonna pour perfectly right on top of that pink. Don't overmix it, Carrie. The one thing about using this colorant, this titanium dioxide, to color this white is that it can cause your soap to set up a lot faster. Now, I'm not 100% sure of the reasoning behind that. It is a chemical reaction. I'm not really sure why it does that. So maybe another soap maker wants to weigh in if they know the science behind that particular aspect. I just know that it happens. And you can and I've had this problem where it will set up too quickly on you. But thankfully, the last time I had it happen, I was making some of the kitty soaps that I have in my shop. And those are sculpted. So the fact that it set up fast actually worked in my favor. So it was a non-issue in that case. But in doing a soap like this, that would be pretty freaking tragic because this needs to be really fluid in order to get a flat layer. See how beautifully that pours? If that were clumpy, if it were like pudding or ganache in consistency, you'd have lumps. And no matter how hard you tried, it would be really difficult to get a flat layer, especially if you're going to put another layer on top of it. So we want to keep things nice and fluid. Speaking of fluid, next week's video will be about the non-binary Pride soap that I did, which is different from gender fluid, but there is some overlap, or similarities, I should say. So that's what we're going to be chatting about in next week's soap making video to continue the Pride series. I still have some of these soaps left. My first run of the Lesbian Pride did sell out, but I have some more in the shop. The only thing that I am completely sold out of right now is the bisexual Pride soap. As of the recording of this, which is a few days before I'm going to upload it. And I only have, for the rainbow version of the LGBT Pride flag, I have an oops version that didn't set up correctly for me. Well, it did set up, but there's some cosmetic issues with it. There's nothing wrong with the soap. It's not harmful in any way. It's just not the prettiest thing you've ever seen. So that is in my shop for half off. It is $5, and there are pictures if you want to see what exactly those look like. And then, of course, for no godly reason, I put the camera back up on the holder completely crooked, and now you get to watch a completely crooked segment. You're welcome. I did that just for you. But it's not straight. I mean, if I make myself laugh, there's a good chance you're laughing, right? So that's good. And this is going to be my light orange layer. So that that lye solution has some titanium dioxide in it as well. You'll see that when I pour it. Not as much as the white layer did, obviously, but that's just designed to lighten up that orange because that's the same orange that's going on the top layer, but I don't want it quite as bright. So when I blend this together, you're going to see how quickly it lightens up. That orange is hard to get right on camera though, but it'll get a little easier to see once it mixes. And look at that. Now it's a nice little pastel orange. With that and the white, I'm like, it looks like the University of Tennessee over here. It's a little pale even for that. Got to know your oranges when you're in the South. But yeah, this again, you don't want to overmix it because it's got that titanium dioxide in it, and you don't want it to set up so that you don't get a fluid pour. And of course, I broke up the orange spatula. You know, y'all, I just can't. I'm on it sometimes. I wish every soap went as smoothly as this one did. This one just was really beautiful. Part of it is that I'm using a fruity scent, which tends to work a little bit easier than like a floral, say. which will set up a little faster on you. So this is a good scent too that I picked, going with a fruity based scent like peach. Hey, put the picture back on camera, Carrie. Come on, bring it back. You got it. Come on. Oh, she's a disaster. Oh yeah, pull that towards you. That's perfect. So not only is it crooked, it's out of frame. No, just kidding. Here we go. I love the pour. So satisfying to me to see soap poured over other soap. Is that weird? Does that satisfy you guys? So when we get to talking about trans and non-binary identities, we'll talk a little bit more about the difference between sexuality and gender. But, you know, someone can be transgender and be a lesbian. They can be non-binary and consider themselves a lesbian. It's kind of all about how you see yourself and what label you choose to give yourself. Some people choose the label queer because they feel like they identify maybe with more than one community, or maybe there's no label that feels quite right to them, but they know that they're not, you know, a cisgender straight person. And I'm of the opinion that, you know what, you know yourself better than I do, go for it. You know, if a label works for you, great. If it doesn't, don't use it. If being labelless is what you want, then that's cool too. You know, I think we're all just human beings trying to get by, and I think that we need to be kinder to each other with regard to that one, you know. I want people to be accepted for who they are, and that goes for gender, sexuality, race, culture, religion. You know, if you're not hurting other people, you're not actively harming people, I love you, and I want good things for you. And I think that's the way we all should be living our lives personally. Not to get, you know, too philosophical about it. And I think the camera got even more crooked. So this video is now even less straight than it was before. You're welcome. So we got this very last layer to put up. I'll just, we're going to go ahead and mix this up. Now that particular color, that is the same orange as the layer before. I'm just not lightening it up with white. So it's going to be just a pure, bright, bold, gorgeous orange. We love it, right? Not even a big fan of orange, but I just love the color combination of this soap. Like this particular version of the lesbian flag, whether it's the one with more stripes or it's this 5-stripe version, I think is just absolutely stunning. It looks like a sunset to me. It's just beautiful. And if you go look up kind of the meanings of the different stripes, it's very similar to the rainbow flag, and that each stripe has a different meaning. And I just think it's beautiful, you know. And I feel like how colorful the world is during Pride Month. Like, I love seeing rainbows and stuff everywhere. I love it. You know, can't help myself. And on this one, again, it's not going to matter if I overmix as much as it would with those ones with the titanium dioxide in it. But again, I don't want to overmix too much, especially on this top, because I want it to go smooth. But you'll see here where I get it just a little not quite even. Maybe you'll be able to see it. And that is where someone got a really not straight bar of Lesbian Pride soap. Congrats, you're the unstraightest unstraight. Unstraight? I don't know. Non-straight? Gay, queer, whatever term you prefer. You're that. And you got a soap that fully reflects it. Come on, Carrie, pour the soap. Get on with it. I'm just checking to make sure it's not separating. That's one thing, when you get to the end of a batch of soap like this, one of the things I've actually started doing to make sure that I don't have an issue with false trace is I heat my oil back up. Because by the time you get to this 5th layer, so I'm using oil. I think I mentioned this before. I'm using coconut oil, which will basically melt on your skin. It's at room temperature, 72 degrees. It is a solid. So if it touches your skin, it touches another warmer oil, it's going to be a liquid. But I also use shea butter and palm oil, which need to be quite a bit warmer to melt. And so as it starts to cool, those oils will start to solidify again, and everything else stays liquid. You end up with steric spots. It happened with my pansexual Pride soap, which you'll see in a couple weeks. And I was not 100% happy with it. Again, it's just a cosmetic issue. It doesn't damage the soap. It's just like when you have these beautiful, bright, bold colors and you just want to be like, yay, happy Pride, and then come out with, white spots in it. You're like, man. But again, it's not harmful in any way. It is literally just from those oils solidifying and not saponifying with the rest of the oils. It's literally all it is. Yay, look at that bright orange. Isn't she pretty? Now, I know what y'all are waiting for. You're waiting for the cut and you want to see the final photographed product, right? Right. And again, the good news is, unlike the last 2 week soaps, I still have some of these left. I really sold through. I think what I'll probably do is keep some of the more popular of my Pride soaps year round, and we'll do some of the ones that didn't sell quite as quickly. I'll probably do on a case by case basis, but then always do all of them for Pride Month. But I'll probably keep quite a few of them in the shop regularly. So if you didn't get them, if you managed to not snag what you wanted, they'll be around. And next year for Pride, I'll be sure to do a lot more going into it. All right, so let's cut this soap. Well, I've got to let it sit for 24 hours, but you don't have to watch it that whole time because we're going to make some movie magic in 3, 2. Well, the camera's not crooked so much anymore. I straightened it out, but I managed to film this in slow-mo, so it's actually, or in time-lapse, so it's actually sped up quite a bit. But hey, boom, 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 boom. There it is. Did you see it? Did you see it? Let's look at the cut. I just want to thank you again for watching one of my videos. If you liked it, please give it a good old thumbs up. Of course, you can always leave a comment or subscribe to my channel. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at The Gilded Bubble, and I'm on TikTok as at CPACC. For whatever reason, my personal TikTok took off, and there you go. You can also buy all my soaps at thegildedbubble.com. And if you'd like a custom order or just want to chat, whatever, you can hit me up on any of those locations through DM, or you can message me through my site. No problem. I also want to give a shout out to my patrons, Heidi, Carol, and Kate. I appreciate you guys so much. You make my day brighter. All of you do for watching my videos, and I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.